missed a whole bunch of
So, speed along in the cab.
They didn't get his either. They must have been a problem with the mail.
Between the blizzard and Christmas, it's probably just stuck under a pile of Christmas boxes.
What's that? Yeah.
So, a couple of the commissioners didn't get their packets.
Wayne's not here, Greg's not here. Greg didn't have any items. When you get to operational for Wayne, Brian's gonna do them. And he'll be at the table anyways. And then Tara's got your stuff covered.
Yep.
All right.
Corolla, but Corolla. Yeah.
Carol with the O. I call these Christmas times.
And Herb was
So
getting
happening.
his wisdom for pulled this afternoon.
Was it? Who?
Yeah, so Greg.
I guess it's down.
I overdo it.
To Ira.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet Bill has a tool for that.
No little blood, so he's just
Are we ready? Or we're waiting for, who are we waiting for?
We're all set.
no,
We're waiting for.
Ready whenever you
I
say.
don't think he is, but I know that some
Unless everybody wants to hang around a little bit.
not really.
Not really?
I've worked there.
Why? They said you're buying drinks tonight.
he's good.
Actually, I think Bane's trying to catch a train at 4.
All right. All right, Vane?
You should make that
What?
Where are you catching it from?
4 o'clock train.
All right, let's go then. Just for you, Vane, we're going to make it quick.
Okay.
Roger, you're out of line.
All right.
Ready, Francie?
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon. We're December 19th at the New York State Bridge Authority meeting. To my left, we'll go around the table, Commissioner Rod Dressel. To his left, Commissioner Vane Lashua, Roger Higgins, our counsel, Carl Whitback, and our Assistant Executive Director, Tara Sullivan. And we have our other department heads sitting around the room. Before we start our monthly meeting, we have our audit committee meeting, agenda December 19th. Brian, it's the adoption of the minutes of September 19th, 2013. Roger,
Move to adopt the minutes of the September 19 meeting.
second. Zane,
Second.
any discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, review annual report of committee activities.
Brian can.
Brian?
Ran through for the audit committee and did an overview of what the requirements were as it relates to the audit committee's charter. More or less, the audit committee met. They're required 4 times for the year. It reviewed and evaluated the qualifications and performance of outside auditors and accountants during the review of the annual report in the March 21st meeting. We reviewed results, evaluation of accounts outside auditors as it relates to, again, the annual report. So more or less the first couple of items on the charter relate to evaluation of the annual report and the accountants supporting those activities. Has identified and consistently approved the utilization of the outside accountants as it relates for our internal control function, as well as developing the annual report. The audit committee oversaw internal controls through the execution of the internal auditor's audit plan. The audit committee reviewed the adequacy and direction of the authority's internal control function through myself as the internal control officer, as well as utilization of the third-party internal auditor. As well, additionally, the audit committee approved the authority's annual internal audit work plan and direct activities of the internal control officer and the internal auditor. This was done a couple of years ago because it was a 3-year audit plan. The audit committee will continue to review the final audit report. The audit report for 2013 is in draft form right now. It will be reviewed at the first quarter meeting. Review adequacy and direction of internal controls. The audit internal auditor as well as the internal control officer have not identified any significant internal control issues during the reporting year. The audit committee also routinely receives financial reports through the overall board, as well as independently within the committees, to review the annual budget. Again, no significant issues were disclosed during the year that caused the audit committee to take action.
So I would make a motion, Mr. Chair, to accept the audit report and move it on to the board for the board's consideration.
Second.
Second, discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, independent accountant services, year-end 2013 financial statements, Brian?
Okay, this is the third year of a 3-year contract to retain Toskey and Schaefer, which was Toskey and Schaefer and is now Toskey and Company, as our external auditor who prepares both the annual report with our assistance as well as the required documentation associated with the bond resolution, confirming that we're in compliance with the resolution. They've quoted $16,900 for the audit as well as $1,800 for the single audit, which relates to the grant funds that we have received in the last few years. As of this time, this should be the last year of the single audit for the grant funds because we don't anticipate any funds in 2014.
So again, we'll make a motion to move the contract to the full board for consideration.
Second.
Discussion, roll call, all in favor say aye. God bless you.
Thank you. Excuse me.
I don't think
Very-
there's any other business.
Any other business?
I think so. Move to
Motion,
adjourn.
so, second,
Second.
thank you very much. Next, we have our finance committee. We have Rod Dressel, our chairman, myself, and Roger Higgins, who sit on the committee. Adoption of minutes, September 19th, 2013. Move.
Move to
Roger.
adopt the minutes of the September 19 meeting.
Second. I'll second it. All in favor? Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Next, Rod, you take over. Review annual committee report, activities.
Oh, okay, so we have minutes from the last meeting to adopt. So I ask that a motion for adopt the minutes of the last meeting on September 19th. Or did you, is that what you?
We just did that.
We just did that.
Let's do the review of the annual report.
Okay. I think in our packet here, we have an overview of the Finance Committee's charter requirements, of which we're required to have 4 meetings a year, and of which we did. And it is so stated here. It is explained what we did at those 4 different meetings. I would say it's ready to submit to the board for its approval. And we fulfilled our responsibilities, I think, as a finance committee. If there's any other, right, Brian, or is there any other comments that you should,
No,
that you or I are supposed to make?
we were supposed to have 4 meetings. We had 5. We reviewed in the extra meeting the RFP related to the redecking project at Newburgh. The Finance Committee has also reviewed the annual budget and identified that no additional debt financing is required in the coming budget.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to get additional compensation for that 5th meeting?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
You got a double.
Do we need a
All right.
motion
I need a motion, please.
to accept that? So
Yes.
moved.
So moved, okay.
Second,
All,
Rod?
second, let's see. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any other business to bring up for the Finance Committee?
Move to adjourn.
Move. Okay, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Yep, thank you.
To the next,
Governance Committee, December 19th meeting. Adopt the minutes of June 20th meeting. Everyone have a copy. It's myself, Roger, and Vane, members of this committee.
Move to adopt the minutes of the June 20th meeting.
Second. Any discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Authorize annual confidential survey of commissioners regarding the board performance. Mr. Bellucci?
yeah, Mr. Chairman, the confidential evaluation is a requirement of the Authority Budget Office. The format is the same as last year, and I just seek the committee's authorization to distribute the survey, keep it confidential, compile the results. I will file them with the Authority Budget Office and report back to the board on the summary of the survey in January.
No
So,
motion.
just need a motion from the board authorizing me to proceed. or from the committee.
So moved. Second.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, review the governance committee charter and ability or authority's mission statement and performance measures.
Right, the charter and the mission statement has been distributed. We last amended the charter in 2010 and the mission statement in 2011. There were no changes brought to the committee during the calendar year, and we recommend no changes at this time. So
All right.
there's nothing to act on.
All right. And the review of the annual report of the governance committee.
Right. Again, under the requirements of the governance committee charter, the governance committee is required to perform an annual review of its responsibilities, which are primarily concerned with the rules, policy making, and ethics requirements of the authority. Let's see. We'll just go through some of the brief highlights. The biggest one was the committee's consolidation of a number of policies, including an update of the Code of Ethics of the Authority into the Bridge Authority Code of Conduct for all employees. A number of policies were consolidated. That brings the Authority into compliance with both the Authority Budget Office, the Inspector General's Office, and JCO. That was a rather significant task of the Authority, and all employees have signed and acknowledged receipt of the Code of Conduct to date. The committee met 4 times during the calendar year, exceeding its requirement. The committee also evaluated a number of individual policies, making recommendations were appropriate through the process earlier in the year. The Authority has met all of the requirements for posting publicly information on the Authority's website and with the Authority Budget Office. The committee is also charged with overseeing the Authority's practices for transparency, independence, accountability, fiduciary responsibility, and management oversight. Those obligations have all been met. There were no recommended changes in the structure of the committees created by the board, and the confidential evaluation proceeded as outlined in the charter. Let's see. I believe that gets to all of the highlights on the annual report of the committee. There's a lot of detail in the report, which I know the committee members have reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
So we would ask for a motion to move the governance committee annual report onto the board for their acceptance later at the general meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, we'll have it later. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No other business I'm aware of?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the confidential evaluation, you'll find a envelope for standard practice. They are really confidential. I'm the only one that compiles them, and they are destroyed as soon as I get them all. So
All right.
we will report back in January once we receive them all. Commissioner Romaglia has them all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to our regular board meeting. Adopt the regular board meeting minutes of November 21st, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Everyone have a copy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, administration, no reports. Engineering, Bill.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
We have a couple of requests this month. The first 2 involving increases in the original approved budget. TransDign is the contractor / consultant that does a lot of maintenance and repairs on our cameras, traffic control systems, and security systems. The original maintenance contract was negotiated back in 2010. Since then, we've added a lot of cameras, a lot of security equipment, and we were still operating under the originally negotiated budget of $125,000 for the 12-month calendar year, running March to March. This is the 4th year, and as of the end of November, we pretty much exhausted the budget amount that we had allowed for that on-call maintenance. So to finish out the last 4 months of the annual term, we'd like to increase their contract amount by $75,000 from $125,000 to $200,000, just as a safety net in case we have any more on-call repairs. These repairs are billed on a time and material basis. We get a pretty detailed breakdown of the work they did, where they did it, and any direct expenses involved with the repairs. They've got a great technical crew. They've got a fairly complicated system up and running at a pretty good, reliable level. So,
Move to increase the, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, do they have, we asked them to submit recommendations for reducing maintenance costs or reducing maintenance issues as part of their contract?
actually, no, there's no report on capital improvements, if you will, that would mitigate, maintenance. There is a very detailed database spreadsheet where we can review each piece of equipment, how often it gets repaired, how expensive those repairs were, so that helps us to determine when
Point
to
to
stop.
point to other maintenance and, operational changes of any kind.
Well, at some point, you want to replace the camera, or you want to replace the modem, or whatever it is that's been failing, rather than repair it. So, but they're not actually in the recommendation mode of that. They do assemble the spreadsheet and gives us all the information, so we can do that internally.
Okay.
But
Obviously, they came to you for requests to raise the salary.
well, George and I monitor the monthly invoices, so it became apparent that we actually were doing okay, but there was a long list of things to do this past summer and fall while they raced to finish some of the grant installation work. So then September, October, they caught up on their long list of things to do and exhausted the balance of the fund. So we haven't overspent yet, but we'd like to be in a position to continue to be able to call them for on-call repairs in the next December through March.
Move to approve the increase to a not to exceed amount of $200,000 as explained in the memo.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, all in favor say aye.
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 LKB increase?
Thank you. LKB, in addition to the deck replacement work ongoing at Newburgh, there's also a full replacement of the electrical system on the eastbound bridge. LKB was the design engineer responsible for that work. Shortly after we began design, it became apparent that a very desirable enhancement would be to add a second emergency generator on the Newburgh side, because it is about 1.5 miles of power transmission we were trying to accomplish with a single generator on the Beacon side. Again, we've added a lot of equipment, and our traffic control system is kind of paramount to maintaining safety for the traveling public. So if we have a power outage, we haven't always been able to maintain the west end traffic control equipment. So we added the design task to LKB's design assignment to add a second generator at Newburgh to be installed on the Newburgh side. But what we didn't do was ask for an increase in their design support services during construction, which, they answer field questions and problems. They review shop drawings and equipment catalog cuts during the actual installation and make sure everything's compatible with the original design. So again, at this point in time, we've exhausted their budget for design support services during construction. We still have about a year to go, assuming that we finish on the contractor's early projected schedule of next year this time. So we'd like to ask for a modest increase in their design support services of $30,000 to make sure we have the resources we need to address the questions. So that would increase their fee from about $150,000 to about $180,000.
Move to approve the increase.
Second. Discussion? Roll call, all in favor say aye.
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 Next?
Next, this may sound like a broken record. We were here last month to approve a priority Raycon purchase. This is the ship collision avoidance system we have. Last month we bought a Raycon to replace the unit up at Rip Van Winkle, which was over almost 25 years old. The Raycon at Kingston is, of course, the same age, installed at the same time, and has similar problems. We sent it down to Houston to be repaired. And again, they don't have any parts for a 25-year-old unit, so basically, we'd like to repeat the same purchase we asked you for last month, only this time for the Kingston Bridge instead of the Family Court.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Next up is a little more mundane, some equipment purchases for our maintenance department, the zero-turn lawnmowers. We're purchasing this off the OGS contract with an additional discount. And, there's 3 units, 2 for Mid-Hudson and 1 for Kingston that we're proposing to replace both lawnmowers at both bridges.
Which bridges are these going to be at?
2 of them for Mid-Hudson and 1 of them for Kingston.
And the ones that we're replacing, or they'll be at the auction
They'll
in
be
the
at the
spring?
auction, yeah.
So moved. Who moved it?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
American Crane.
American Crane is the crane manufacturer of the Travelers here on the Mid-Hudson Bridge. We've received the inspection at the end of the season, and our maintenance guys have been performing some in-house enhancements, providing an oil bath drive for the transmissions where there used to be a dry system. So we'd like to finish the rest of those retrofits in addition to replacing the control part of the Traveler system. And American Crane is uniquely qualified as the original fabricator of those crane drives. So there's a summary of replacement parts attached, totaling for the 3 items there, labor, materials, and inspection of $60,710.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Last one, jobs in progress, monthly report.
Well, I thought I'd be saying we're shut down for the winter, but our contractor at Newburgh continues to install deck panels. We have approximately 200 deck panels installed out of a total of 1,500 required for the complete bridge. And there's been a lot of challenges through the winter with there's small concrete pours, closure pours that need to be made in between each panel, which are weather sensitive. Snow plowing the new deck, which is a little higher than the old deck, has been a challenge for us this past weekend. But the contractor wants to continue to forge ahead, working in between the snowfall and the freezing temperatures, and he hopes to be able to complete 25% of the project by the end of April, and he hopes to be able to complete the whole project by the end of the 2014 construction season.
Bill, did they reach their, I think that when we were down there that day, they were looking to do 4 or 5 a night. Did they?
They've had nights where they put in as many as 12.
Jeez.
Most nights are between 8 and 10, but they've been able to step up their production with some fairly innovative procedures. So it's been a challenge to keep everything else under control: sidewalk maintenance, roadway maintenance, temporary plates over these construction joints between panels, which have to wait until we get good weather. Today, tomorrow, and Saturday, we'll be pouring those concrete closure pours. We've got some great weather ahead of us. So hopefully we'll be able to remove a lot of those temporary
Supposed to warm up
plates.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So progress has been very good. The last month we thought they'd pretty much shut down by Thanksgiving. He's going to take off the couple of weeks here between December 20th and January 7th, I think. There won't be any new panels going in, but there will be activity, catching up, cleaning up, pouring concrete closure doors.
By doing all this, would this expedite the end of the project?
Yeah, it would save us, the whole year's worth of construction inspection fees and other support service type, and the traffic would, of course, appreciate
Mm-hmm.
having him get out of the road a year early. So we're trying to work with the contractor to enhance his production, but there's a lot of things to take into account.
Move to accept the jobs in progress report.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Brian, our financial investment report.
Okay, first up is the monthly investment report. More or less 6 different investments for the month, mostly on the shorter maturity side. One incremental investment maturity to the debt service reserve fund as we rolled over some investments we made when we took out the additional bonds. Those investments are reflected in the investment inventory. Of note, the maintenance and construction funds in total are sitting at approximately $97 million. In terms of yield to maturity, investment yield, yield continues to remain low. It's back up over what it was from the month of September, and we'll continue to see fairly low yields as we consume larger portions of the construction fund associated with additional completion efforts on the south span redecking that Bill just spoke about.
Any questions? If
Move
not,
to accept the investment report.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next, bridge property insurance.
Okay, in October 2011, the authority issued an RFP for bridge property and loss of revenue insurance. The contract was awarded for 3 years, provided that the rates remain the same for 2014 as per the certificate from the independent consulting engineer. The values of the bridges moved up 3.8% to $1.796 billion from $1.730. Correspondingly, the rates for our coverage increased $31,918, which is 3.8%.
Any discussion? Brian, regarding this walkway bridge, why do we have the value so high on the walkway?
The value is set at the replacement value, but if you look at the footnote in the bottom, it notes that the railway bridge renovators pedestrian walkway coverage sublimited at $80 million, and the purpose for that is we concluded that replacement of the walkway, we would evaluate how it was replaced in the event there was damage to it, as the likelihood of the whole thing coming down was very slim.
And that would be our responsibility?
We own the bridge.
And Parks and Recreation is responsible for the deck on the bridge, but we're responsible for the structure of the bridge.
All the rusty part we got.
All right.
So if the bridge got hit by a ship or a barge or something like that, and the structure of the bridge was such that it had to be replaced, our threshold would be $80 million.
All right, someone want to move it?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Next.
The next item was recommended from the audit committee. Again, July 2011, we went out with an RFP. Toski and Company came back with the lowest bid. They've been the authority's auditor for several years now. They retain the same fees for all the years, or most of the years they've been with the authority. The total fee for the third year of this 3-year contract is $18,700. Based on our satisfaction with Toski and Company in the past, we recommend that the board approves extension.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor, say aye.
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 And renewal of Easy Pass discounts?
Okay, during the toll schedule revision process during late 2011, early 2012, a provision was added, Title 21, New York State, NYSBA, Section 201.2, titled Bridge Tolls, establish tolls charged for passage across facilities owned and operated by the New York State Bridge Authority. It provides for discounted tolls allowed for fares paid through Easy Pass, subject to requirements of that statute. Essentially, annually, the board is required to go and extend the Easy Pass discounts associated with the commuter plan and the rate differential between cash and Easy Pass. This would be the extension for the year 2014. It is the second extension.
Move that we extend the discount fares.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Brian, I think you better pitch in here and take care of this invoice regarding Easy Pass.
Yes, the next two items I'm going to sit in for Wayne Ferguson, as he's out of the office today. But essentially, this is the third quarter invoice for the Easy Pass expenses associated with the Thruways activities and the costs that they incur to go and process our Easy Pass transactions. it is $981,323.10. Looking at it in the next couple of pages on the board item here, you can see that it is a little bit higher this quarter, associated with higher traffic volumes, generally which occur in the third quarter. The details of the bill are attached. A good portion of this is made up of actual charges incurred, and it goes back to the usage day formula, which we sometimes bring up here. In any case, it's consistent with prior bills, and having reviewed it from the operations perspective, they recommend the payment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next, Brian.
Okay, the last item relates to the New York State Police contract or invoices to go and perform coverage on the Mid-Hudson Bridge for traffic patrols. Typically, what the authority has done is they've approved a budget amount for $95,000. This amount fluctuates to some degree year over year, as the state police sometimes send troopers in here on overtime, and other times they send them in on regular time, so the amount is put at a ceiling that is approved by the board. And the last few years, if you note on the second page of the item, we typically don't come up close to it, but the amount does fluctuate depending on whether a trooper is sent in here on overtime or straight time.
Moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We have no human resources, no information technology, operations.
We just had from Brian, and now the executive director's monthly activity report. There were no expenditures by the executive director this month. And we have the reports for traffic and revenue and the Easy Pass sales. They're all attached for your review. And there's a resolution to accept the annual reports of your committees.
So moved.
Any discussion? Second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Tara. Any presentations to the board? Old business, new business? Any attorney-client privilege, Carl?
No.
No. Before we adjourn, I think we all, this past week, like probably adjourn in memory of our executive director, Joe Ruggiero's mother, Carol, who passed away this past week. If we could just have a moment of silence for her. Thank you, and our prayers are with Joe and his family during the holiday times, and hopefully everybody has a healthy and happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.